Welcoming you to a life of awareness, the Presence Project is excited for you to join us for today's podcast with your host, Paul Kerzner.
Hello and welcome to episode 60 of Are You Being Present? My name is Paul Kerzner. I want to welcome you to the present moment. I want to welcome you to the here and now. And I want to thank you wholeheartedly, sincerely, and deeply for joining me in this amazing present moment. The title and topic for today's podcast is Feeling Sick in the Present Moment. And now that cold and flu season has descended upon most of America, I felt like this topic specifically was extremely relevant, rather topical, and many people can relate to it, whether you're sick right now, or you know someone who's sick, or you've been sick. I mean, we've all been sick. I feel like learning how presence can help us feel better, but also looking at how feeling sick can be a presence obstacle. Why is it so difficult to be present when we're not feeling well? And, that's a good question, and there's a variety of answers that I could provide. The first one that I'd like to extrapolate on is that, when we're not feeling well, our egos can see that we're vulnerable because we become hyper-focused on whatever's not feeling right inside our body, and we can start to ruminate about it, and that's an issue because then our ego mind has the ability to make us think about all the times that we have been sick in the past. Or in the inverse, our ego can start to make us think about, when is this sickness going to end? Why is this happening to me? And start putting us into more of a victim state of the illness. What can we do at that point? Well, first and foremost, you have to use your presence tools. And if you're using those tools, whatever they are for you, you're able to observe that thought stream that is taking you out of the moment. And yes, being sick means that you are rather uncomfortable. And we've talked about experiencing discomfort in the present moment and the value that exists within it. And so being sick and being uncomfortable, they're rather close, and there's value for both. So can we be present when we're sick? Well, first of all, we have to look at the illness and whatever that illness is as an opportunity, because we're going to be presented with a variety of challenges as that illness starts to unfold. And like with anything in life, there is a process that takes place. Colds, flus, whatever it is, they just don't happen out of nowhere. It seems like that, but there's actually a build-up. And usually we're not paying attention, or we're a little disconnected, or we're too busy to start seeing all of the warning signs, all the symptoms. But if you're super present, you are noticing the little nuances, whatever those are, whether it's a tickle in your throat, or you're feeling a little foggy-headed or lethargic, whatever the symptoms are, they start off really light and then they start to ramp themselves up. And if you're not being present, then you can really get caught off guard when the illness starts to blossom. But since being sick and the illness specifically is a process, we have to remember that there's a beginning, middle, and end to it. And so by using our presence tools and really working on having a sense of clarity, we can see our way through that and reduce some of the suffering that takes place when we're not feeling well. So something that happens a lot when we're sick is that we become really idle. We lay in bed, we're watching TV, we're just not doing a whole lot because we don't feel well, but also we're trying to let our bodies heal. And that's also fertile ground for the ego to start chiming in and really making you think things that aren't helpful at all. I'm going to reflect back to what I was just talking about by using your presence tools while you're idle, while you're laying there. That's an amazing time for you to really ask yourself, what is this about? What am I thinking about? Where's my head at? What am I ruminating about? What thoughts are flowing through me? What feelings am I having about this experience? Because being sick is an experience like anything else. I've talked about this before and I'll mention it again. Nothing ever lasts. As you're starting to ruminate, as your ego starts to chime in and is doing its best to turn you into a victim, the reassurance that you have to have for yourself is that, this sickness, how I feel now, is not going to last. There was a time before it, and there'll be a time after it. But I have to be so present in the moment that I can see it for what it is. I can use it as a learning opportunity to really hone in on, what is this about? How can I see that this experience is happening for me, not to me? Because yes, being sick is certainly a challenge, but it's a integral facet. It's an integral experience of being a human being. No one goes through life without getting sick at some point. It's just how you view the illness, because again, perception is reality, and we just talked about perception. So what we're trying to do now is shift your perception of the illness, of the sickness, so that you can see it for what it is and look at it in a more positive perspective. And if you can't be positive about it, at least we can be more neutral. And by being neutral, we can just say, okay, this is what it is. What is it that I need? What is it that my body's asking for? What is it that I really want? How can I really see this with clarity? That's the level of discourse that I'm imploring you, that I'm suggesting that you have with yourself. Because it's hard to say how long the duration of the illness will last, but you don't need to add an extra layer of self-inflicted suffering to the illness itself. Your body has an amazing way of healing. Homeostasis is a beautiful thing, and your body will take care of itself. Sometimes it just takes longer than others, and it really depends upon a variety of different factors. So, one person will experience a cold uniquely to them based on, their constitution, their level of health, their age, whatever it is, than compared to the next person. We certainly don't want you to compare your illness to the next person. So it's really important that you don't start telling everyone about how sick you are, because that's going to keep you stuck in a loop, and it's going to keep you, you're going to be negatively manifesting more illness for yourself. What we need to do is also see that for what it is. It's a regurgitation, it's a rumination, and more importantly, there's a reflection there for you to see and say, wait a second, why am I talking about this? Why am I trying to tell everyone about this? Am I trying to elicit sympathy? Is that going to make me feel better? Or do I really need to take a step back and be with myself, observe myself, and allow my body to heal itself? And that is done through the present moment. So if you're sick right now, let's just take a moment to really observe what's going on inside of us. Let's look at how we're feeling, what we're thinking about. Are we observing that ego? What is that ego mind telling us? Why is it making us feel this way? These are, these questions that I present to you are questions that I suggest you present to yourself. And it's going to take that level, that certain type of conversation, so that you can ground yourself into the present moment, so that you don't have to keep on spinning yourself out. Yes, you don't feel well. And I know that's not a very positive experience. But if we can pull back your feelings about the experience, be present and accept it for what it is, with the understanding that it's not going to last. That illness will have a beginning, middle, and end. You will enter into a flow state and you will start feeling better, because you won't be hyper-focused on what is going wrong and why it feels so bad. Okay? And again, what we're really just trying to do is shift your perceptions about being sick, about not feeling well. And if we can do that, that'll certainly provide you with some relief. Yes, there's going to be a certain duration for the discomfort, and I wish for you a speedy recovery, but more importantly, what I wish for you is to enter into such a deep and pure level of presence so that you can be with your body, you could be with your mind, and more importantly, you could be with this illness and see it not as a negative experience, but as a positive learning opportunity. Okay? I want it to be as concise as possible because there's no sense in drawing this topic out. Being sick is certainly not a fun part of being a human being. Again, you just can't avoid it. So why not change the way that you're seeing it? Why not change the way that you're experiencing it? Why not get in tune with the moment? Accept it for what it is. Remind yourself that it's not going to last. Give yourself exactly what you need, which is empathy, which is time, which is understanding. And just remember that it's okay. And that what's happening for you is happening for a reason. And everything that's happening for you is unfolding exactly how it should. Maybe it's not unfolding the way that you perceive it that it should. But that's okay. That's just your perceptions. Because at the end of the day, things are going to happen the way that they're going to happen anyway. It doesn't necessarily matter about the way that you perceive it to be. More importantly, it matters the way that you accept it is. So, what I'm suggesting at this point is that if you don't feel well, let's accept it. Because acceptance is, in my humble opinion, it is a quintessential presence tool. So we're going to accept not feeling well. We're going to be super present. We're going to watch, more importantly, what's happening with our mind and our body. And we're going to really be okay. We're going to keep on telling ourselves that we're okay. We're going to assure ourselves. We're going to remember it's not going to last. We're going to use all our presence tools that we've talked about up until this point. Presence tools are subjective. The ones that work for me might not necessarily work for you, and vice versa. And being sick affords you, certainly you now have a certain amount of time. You can listen to some of my past podcasts. You can look into building a mindfulness practice for yourself. You might want to journal a little bit. Maybe you want to do a guided meditation or even a regular meditation. Whatever's going to make you feel better and calm your mind down. Because if your mind gets overactive, if you allow your ego to trigger you while you're not feeling well, that's going to lead you into becoming more tense. And subsequently, you can release cortisol because you will start getting stressed out about not feeling well, about being sick. Cortisol is going to release inflammation systemically all throughout your body. And that cortisol, it does not go away right away. It lingers within your bloodstream for 3 weeks. So that's only going to make things more complicated because your body is going to have to reallocate its resources to start clearing out that inflammation, as well as spend its resources trying to heal you, to kick out that bug, the cold, the flu, whatever that is. Presence tools are really important to keep you calm through this experience, through this finite experience that will not last. So hopefully you're seeing an overarching theme here where I'm pretty consistently reminding you of some very key ideas. One of the most important ones is to remember that the law of impermanence in this reality. That nothing is permanent, nothing lasts. So however you feel in this moment, it's not going to last because it's going to be replaced by another present moment. And we don't know what's in store in that present moment. So we have to be present and accept this present moment. And yes, it might not feel well. You might not feel good. You might not like it. That's okay. What we're asking you to do is just accept it. I hope that this is helpful. If you're sick right now, I hope that you start feeling better. If you get sick, please use your presence tools. It will help you feel better because presence is medicine. And, I talked about that in a previous podcast. So you might need literal medicine, and that's okay too, but don't forget to take your presence medicine. So on that note, I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank everyone for listening to the podcasts that I have published. It really means a lot that I have this ability to share information on a topic which I find to be so important and so relieving, which is being present. It's not the end-all be-all for everything, but it certainly makes life a lot easier, and it certainly makes life way more worth living. Thank you again for joining me, and I want to welcome you back to the present moment.
Thank you for listening to the Are You Being Present podcast, brought to you by the Presence Projects. Remember, you have a choice. Choose to be present.